I am Deb. Thank you for watching. I'm the founder and director of the Prenatal Yoga Center. I'm also a Lamaze teacher, certified labor support doula, and mother of two. So tonight is kind of a topic that I actually haven't written about. It's more just something I've been thinking about the caregiver's relationship with the mom and how that affects her birth. So that I've written about, but this specific scenario really just came up last night. So I had a student come into class. She's 34 weeks pregnant. And she was saying to me that she had an ultrasound and that the baby was weighing in about 7.5 pounds. And she asked me how accurate that was. And I said, they can be back and forth about 10%. And she said that her care provider was concerned that she was going to have a big baby and wanted to just go ahead and schedule a C-section, which they put on the books for 39 weeks. And she wanted to know my thoughts on that. And I thought that was not the best idea. And I said, I'm happy to pass along some information as to how to make a better decision, the whole big baby thing, should that go straight for a C-section? And I asked her a little bit about her relationship with her care provider. And she said, she didn't really know her care provider too well. Oh yeah, someone's saying 35 weeks. I know. Oh my, 34 weeks already deciding to do a C-section. That's exactly the reaction I had. Oh my, run. And so I said, did you interview this person? What was your basic philosophy? Did it match up? And she said, no, she hadn't really talked to her care provider too much. She was, recommended from someone. So then I brought this up with some other students, and actually we talked a little bit about it before class, and I really brought it up after class, and we had about, I think, 15 students that day, and 2 of them were 37 plus weeks. So we started to talk about kind of the big talk you have. So at 36 weeks, it's typical that you go into your care provider's office and you have a talk about how you foresee your birth. Are you planning on having pain medication? Are you planning on having a doula? Kind of what would you like, kind of your top hits? Do you want to immediately do skin to skin? Would you prefer not to have full-time monitoring? Would you like intermittent? So, it really kind of the discussion of how you foresee your birth. And I try not to use the word birth plan too often because I find that actually turns a lot of care providers off. So I go with birth preferences. And the problem is, by the time at 36 weeks that you're having this conversation, you're kind of stuck with that care provider because it's really hard past 23 weeks to switch providers. Now, there's a couple here in the city, I'm in New York City, that will take late transfers, but it's really rare. So at 36 weeks, a lot of students are now finding out, wow, their provider is not who they thought they were. So then I started to talk to a couple of students today. We had about 13 in class, and I brought the same scenario up. And so my kind of thought about this is, so here you are, first trimester, you're just hoping everything works and you're pregnant and you stay pregnant because that's the highest risk of miscarriage. Second trimester, you're just thrilled not to be nauseous and tired anymore. You're just celebrating. You're telling everyone you're pregnant. And then third trimester is when you really start to do your research. And that's where I think things start to go astray, is now people are getting educated. And so they're starting to really decide what they want for their birth. This is really getting real. You're like, wow, this baby's going to be coming out. I better figure out how I want to get this baby out. And so then they go face to face at 36 weeks, and they then maybe find out perhaps they're not aligned. So what I recommend doing, and this is great if you're out there and you're not pregnant yet, or you're really early before 23 weeks, then sit down, even if your care provider says, we're going to talk about that later, sit down and talk to your care provider now so that you can find out at this time, are you aligned? So you can talk to them. Maybe you're planning on trying to have an unmedicated birth and find out what they think of that. So from last night's class, the 2 that were 37 weeks and had their talk at 36, one care provider said, if I see you in pain, I'm going to recommend you having an epidural. And I thought that was a little insane because, let's face it, birth can be uncomfortable. It's totally doable without pain medication, which is what this student wanted, but it's uncomfortable. It's almost like saying to a dieter, you're on a diet, but if you want chocolate, I'm going to give you that chocolate because I don't want you to suffer without it. I just think it's a little bit insane. And so this person, our student here, was thinking, I'm really lost. I want to try an unmedicated birth, and I'm not getting the support already from my care provider, and I'm not even in labor. And the same thing came up with the other student that was 37 plus weeks. So she was talking to her care provider. She said she's 95% sure she's going to hire a doula, and her care provider said, I'd rather you take an epidural so that when it's time to push, you have the energy to do so. And again, it's very undermining. So if this person, maybe if our student had talked to her care provider ahead of time, perhaps she could have found someone that said, you know, I believe you can do this. I'm going to sit by you. I'm going to support you. I'm going to recommend you get a doula. I'm going to recommend you educate yourself. You have your coping mechanisms, and let's do this together. So I really think it's important to talk to the care provider, to interview ahead of time, because you don't want someone undermining you. You know, so if you are a low-risk woman, you shouldn't be in a high-risk practice. If you want a care provider that's low intervention, you should check with your care provider to find out their statistics. Are they very prone to C-sections? Are they pretty happy with the Pitocin? You know, like how quickly are they going to start to intervene? You know, you can even talk them straight out thinking, I'm looking for an unmedicated birth. What do you think of that? Or maybe you're the other way. Maybe you're thinking, I really want to avoid the pain. I want the pain meds. And what if your care provider is one that says, you know, I really believe in the body doing its natural course. Let's see how far you get. So again, it's really about the relationship and finding the best support, because you don't want to start to negotiate and have conflict during your labor. You want the best people there that believe in you, believe in the process, and can really set you up for success. You know, so my own experience, you know, I have a wonderful OB that I've been going to since I was 23, so for quite a many years. And I saw him for the beginning of my pregnancy both times, and then I switched to a midwife. And what I did is, because I knew that I wanted to have a home birth, I went ahead and, oh, we have so many people joining. Hello. I went ahead and I interviewed different midwives. So I already knew that the home birth midwives were going to have a certain mindset, but I needed to make sure that we were really aligned. So there was one thing that was important to me, and it was postpartum hemorrhage. That was kind of the scary thing for me about home birth. So I had 3 different interviews, and I had a set of questions. So I remember specifically one home birth midwife, and I said, what do you do about postpartum hemorrhage? And the first thing she said was, you know, I start to get the herbs, and in my head are immediately like, out. I wanted someone, for me, I needed someone a little more medical. I wanted to hear, I'm calling 911. I have, you know, Pitocin, which is going to help the uterus, which home birth midwives have. I want to hear someone's massaging the uterus to try to get it to contract. I wasn't comfortable with, I have herbs. You know, and so what if I didn't have this interview and I just took whoever a friend used, or maybe who I was with, and something was erupting and you know, we needed attention? I didn't know how she would react. So I think it's really important to have this conversation with your care provider well ahead of time, so you know who, in a sense, you're getting into bed with, and you know what the kind of care they're going to offer you. So you're not trying to negotiate, you're not upset, you're not scared, you're not feeling unsupported when it's really time for that support. So I really think it's important to talk to your care provider early, even if they don't want to have that conversation. Interview, and even if you feel like, wow, it's kind of late in the game, what can you do? You know, what if you are 36 weeks and having this conversation? I recommend maybe getting a doula. Someone's going to advocate for you, that's going to really stand by your decisions and help you have the birth you want. Or maybe even if you're really upset and you're feeling that you're not going to have a listened to, supported birth, maybe you're even switching care providers. It's not so easy past 23 weeks, definitely not 36 weeks, but I'm sure there are providers that can take you. So that's just a little bit of my idea on that. And we haven't been talking for that long. So I want to know, anyone out there, have you had any experiences where you felt unsupported by your birth? Or if there's any doulas out there, have you found that anyone that you've worked with has come into this? And maybe tell the other viewers what you did with that. Maybe not? Okay. Well, if you feel like you want to contribute, you can always put us on our Twitter at PYC Yoga. You can also check us out on Facebook, and we do Periscopes about 3 times a week. So the next time I'm going to come on will be Friday around 9:15. So thank you so much for joining me on our brief Periscope tonight. And I hope all the wonderful birthing moms out there feel empowered, feel supported, feel listened to. And for the moms that are thinking of getting pregnant, please take the time to research, educate yourself, interview, set yourself up for success. And I hope everyone out there has a wonderful night and a wonderful birth. And Toby the kitty says hi. Namaste. Have a great night. Take care.